Hi, everybody. I just wanted to come on because I've realized in the midst of all this chaos that it might be helpful if parents have a very brief tutorial on how Google Classroom works. It's actually not as intimidating as it might seem. It's definitely not how I grew up or anyone from my generation grew up learning. However, it does have benefits, and the students, I would say, particularly in grades probably fourth and higher, really third and higher, have used it a lot, and they've used it a lot in class. The younger grades, they're navigating their way around. The teachers do use it, but clearly it's more beneficial for the older grades. But it's even more beneficial for the parents to understand how it works. And there's really two main areas that you need to concentrate on if you're trying to keep up with what your students' work is and to make sure that they are turning in or marking assignments done. Okay, so I'm going to switch my screen here and hopefully you will be able to see what I am looking at. So I created a Google Classroom just for this. So I'm going to go to that Google Classroom. Now, your students, when they pull up their Google Classroom, which they can do right in their Google Apps, which is up here in this corner, this little Rubik's Cube looking 9 little dots up here. Okay. This is all their Google apps, and Google Classroom is one of the first ones usually in their Google Drive as well. Those are the ones that they're going to be using the most, and of course Gmail. Okay. Um, but you might see something like this on their screen. And this is all of the Google Classrooms that they are enrolled in. Of course, this is mine for school. So, and I'm enrolled in several Google Classrooms myself. But you'll see sometimes they're enrolled in a music Google Classroom, or they're enrolled in, obviously, if they're in middle school, they're enrolled in individual subjects, or high school, they're individual subjects. They might be enrolled in an art Google Classroom. Okay, so that's why this looks kind of overwhelming at first, because they're all the Google Classrooms they're enrolled in. I always tell students, if they're still enrolled in a class from let's say last year that they know they no longer need from a different grade level, they can unenroll. They can literally go up here and hit archive, or I think it's, well, these are mine, so it doesn't say unenroll, but let me try to find one that I'm enrolled in, and I'll just show you that for a minute. And the other thing that you should know here, unenroll. So you can unenroll if there's an old class that you no longer need, okay, or if the students no longer need. The other thing that you should know is just to be patient, because Google Classroom and Google in general is definitely having a few technology glitches just because of the sheer volume, I think, of people that are on. Okay, so here's my Google Classroom tutorial classroom just to show you. Okay, the two main areas that you need to be concerned with are the stream and the classwork. So think of the stream as the home page. Okay, and the teacher will make announcements here for the class. So I actually posted announcements, and I started out with the stream is like the home page. All announcements are posted here. The last announcement is at the top. So if you're looking for other announcements, or you're looking to see whether or not something was shared or it wasn't, sometimes you're going to need to scroll down. Okay. Then when the teacher posts assignments, they can do it two different ways. They can either post them in the stream, which I do just to keep everything simple during this crazy time, or they will post them in classwork. And when they create an assignment in classwork, a notification is going to come up here. Okay. That's why you see I just created 3 mock assignments just to show you what that looks like. All right. So now I'm going to click on classwork. All right. So here is where a lot of teachers are choosing to post their work. They might put the date right in the title of the assignment. If they don't, then if you look over here, there's usually a due date. This one I just made March 24th. And then if, let's say, they're in a what we call a self-contained classroom, so they have the same teacher for 2 subjects, or for the full day, their work will be posted underneath individual topics. All right, so let me click on math work for a minute just to show you. And again, I made this whole thing up. So this is a brief overview. This is what I see. So this is what the teacher sees. I'm going to show you in a minute what the student might see for an example. But when I click view assignment, this pulls up the full assignment. And I have no students enrolled in this class because I just created this for a tutorial, but it will tell me who turned in the assignment and it will tell me who it's assigned to. So when I first assign something, let's say I have a class of 20 students, this will say 20. And then as they turn it in, this number will go up. Okay, so sometimes, I'll see, okay, 5 students turned it in, 10 students turned it in. Okay, 18 out of 20 students turned it in. And then it will show me down here exactly, and over here in this column, who turned it in and who still hasn't turned it in. Okay. So when you hear teachers say, or if they email you and say your student didn't turn it in, that's what they are looking at. Okay. So that's that. Okay. And like I said, and then I create another one for writing. Same thing. So turned in, assigned, sometimes the students will post comments down here, the teacher might reply back. But like I said, everything is really being announced, whether it's the assignment or an announcement from the teacher, is being posted in the stream. So these are really the only 2 areas you need to be concerned with. What gets a little overwhelming is the number of Google Classrooms that the students are assigned to. So think about their day, and if they're in an upper grade and they have 7 different teachers for 7 different blocks, well, I don't have that many blocks in a day, but you you understand what I'm saying. I'm sorry, it's late. They're going to have, chances are they're going to have a separate Google Classroom for each of those. In the younger grades, it's usually not so bad because if you're a K to 3 teacher, if you have a K to 3 student, they're in one classroom. But if you have a student that's in the 4th or the 5th grade, chances are their teachers are either creating one or they're creating one per subject. So that's where things get a little tricky, is just looking at the sheer amount of Google Classrooms that your students belong to. Now, I'm going to scroll down here because these are all ones that it says teaching up here. So these are all ones that I've either created or become a co-teacher in. Now, these are the ones that I've actually been invited to as a student. So I just wanted to pull one of these up to show you what this looks like. Okay, so these were questions that were posted. Now, if I want to post one, pull one of these up, I can, hit view question. And then what you are seeing here, although it's not green because I didn't actually have to turn this in. This was for my students. There is a turn in button. There's a turn. So actually I shouldn't say that. This says type your answer. And then once you type your answer, it will, and I'm just going to type it in here because I'm not even looking at what the question is. And everyone knows I'm not really good with social studies to begin with. So I'm not even going to attempt this and make a fool out of myself. But then once I've posted my answer, I would hit turn in. So that is one of the key elements to really the students working Google Classroom properly. And that's where I notice a lot of the frustration comes in from both the students and the teachers, is the students might be doing the work, but they're not hitting the turn in button. And if they don't hit the turn in button, they're not getting credit for what is done. And not every assignment needs or has to be necessarily turned in. But let me show you another example. Let's see here. It was a geography B. Let me try this. Okay, this is like our staff, one of our staff ones. And so again, if I go to classwork, um, these were, assignments for teachers. And if I go to like our awards due date, right, I see a sheet. And that's the other thing is, if the teacher's attached anything for the students to do, it will be attached in the assignment. Okay. And then if I go to view assignment, I can complete the assignment and see this one says either I can add or create something, which I might have to add a file or add a document, and then I can mark it as done. So that's the same thing as turning it in, and that's what the teachers are seeing. So those are really the basics of what you need to know. Once you work with it for a brief period of time. Honestly, it does not take that long. You do get used to it. Like I said, I think the most overwhelming part is when you are looking at all of the classes for your students and saying, "Oh my gosh, like do I have to look at each one of these individually?" And for like I said, for the most part, a lot of the older kids, they know what to do, they know what's expected, they use this all the time. Um, but they might have this many classes that they are enrolled in. Um, so sometimes what the another trick is these can be moved around. So if there is a class that the students are using more of than less, you can move these around. The students can move these around. If they're a younger student, you can move it around for them, so that the most important ones are the ones they have to look at every day at this point are popping up first. So I hope that helps. If anybody has, any questions, please, don't hesitate to reach out. You know where to find me. um, and I would be happy to answer any other questions. But, I do realize that if you are not familiar with Google Classroom, which quite frankly, if you're not a teacher, you probably are not familiar with Google Classroom, then it can get overwhelming. So, and like I said, it's overwhelming for the students because a lot of times they don't understand why the teacher is not seeing their work. And it's 9 times out of 10 because they have not turned it in or marked it as done. So, I hope that helps. I hope you are all staying healthy. And if there's anything, like I said, that I can do to help you, please reach out and let me know. But I hope this is helpful. Thanks.